What we're going to be talking about today is simple, really simple. Simple in the sense of, in the direction of singular. It's just really, really simple. It's not complicated. We will share some concepts, some basic concepts, but that's basically just to keep this from being misleading. It's not actually to give anything or to inform anyone of anything or to change anything. This is it. It's a done deal. This isn't in any way lacking. It's completely fulfilled. I'll use all these words and I understand that it's easy to misunderstand them. They're meant in the sense that there's no comparison. So this is perfect, not because it's compared to anything else, but because there isn't a comparison. This is fulfilled, not because there's an unfulfilled to compare it to, but because there isn't an unfulfilled. This is whole and complete, because there isn't anything else. It's already done. Now, in this sense, which is everything, there appears sometimes a sense of being separate, a sense of being an individual, a sense of having a perspective which comes out of the body. Often you'll hear somebody say, my body. That experience is the experience of being separate from everything else. It's the experience that I am real and everything else is real. And that experience hides everything I said at the beginning. Then this is no longer what it truly is. It's part of a process. It's part of a process of me becoming. That sense that is in the body, that experience feels like that this intrinsically is lacking something. It's somehow incomplete and unfulfilled. And that out of that comes seeking. And that seeking, what it does, fundamentally, all it does is look for something else. And that can be looking for a better experience, looking for what's next. And it'll do that. It'll call it spirituality. It'll call it being a foodie. It'll call it Netflix. It'll call it anything at all, but it's always looking for something else, something other than what is. Now, for that separate experience, the situation is hopeless. Because there isn't actually, not only is there not something else, but there isn't anything that will ever fulfill that sense of lack out of which the need for something else comes. It's an illusion. It's an illusion that has no cause, no meaning, and no purpose. So this meeting, all that being, let's say, true, this meeting doesn't have any intention in changing any of that. Because unknowably to that sense of separation, it is the same fulfillment. It is the same completion. It is the same wholeness that everything else is. So there is already nothing out of place. There is already nothing that needs to happen, which is not an imperative that something should or shouldn't happen. It's just not, there isn't that sense of need is illusory. And that includes that sense of need that comes out of the illusion of separation. There's nothing right or wrong with that either. So this meeting won't be providing any help. I only say that after everyone paid. And no, you can't get your money back. If you're in the wrong place, sorry, that's just your bad luck. So it's not interested in trying to help anyone or to change anything because it's already, obviously, incomparably perfect. This is needlessly what it is, without any meaning, purpose, or intention. It's just utter freedom appearing to happen. That's what this is.
I can't stop. You used the word yesterday, apparently.
Yeah.
Okay. What does that mean? Like apparently there's something.
That it's not real. that it is and isn't. Like in the introduction, I said that this is, to that separate sense, this is real because it has the sense that I am real. It's the same experience of realness. And that doesn't happen. And the best way I can describe the illusion that what this is when that isn't happening is it's an appearance. It's an appearance of freedom. It's an appearance of nothing. This. There isn't a freedom out of which this comes, or a source somewhere else out of which this comes. This is it. It's the whole world.
And it's apparent over here. It's not apparent over here that there's no one over here.
Well, that never is really apparent. Because there isn't anyone to know that. It's not, the me thinks that, so if there is that sense of separation, what it will necessarily do is it will hear everything we're talking about as an object, as a thing that it doesn't have, or that it could become. And it will project over here that this has it, and this knows what we're talking about. And that's just not the way it is. This doesn't know what we're talking about. And then what that will, if there's an individual, what that will do is want to know what it's like not to know what it is to talk about things. It always makes an object of everything. It's an endless loop.
Jim,
Yeah.
so you don't know what you're talking about,
Well, there isn't anyone here. You mean.
right? And yet it feels like, and there is no authority, yet it feels like I paid you $60 to tell me things
Which isn't
that I
quite
think I
enough.
already know.
Especially if you can ask questions. No, I totally.
Yeah, and
Totally.
it feels like there is something.
Yeah, I know. Well, a meeting like this, I mean, the way it should be set up is I should know something you don't. You pay and then I give you something to help you find something that you don't have.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just fun.
And there's literally nothing to get.
No, not in that way. When we're talking about this as wholeness, it is where it gets lost is the sense that there could be something separate. So if there's an individual, it will say that it's something to get because it would be here, completely missing that it's already that. It's more obvious than the experience of being separate. It's just overlooked because there's nothing in it for you. There's nothing to know about it. It being everything already.
That's it. This being everything already.
Well, there's no point that's everything, separate from everything. There's just everything. That's all there ever is everything.
In the past, the future.
Is everything. Whatever arises is everything. There is only everything.
Nowhere to go. Nothing to get.
All that seems to happen, but it doesn't change that all that is everything appearing to happen.
So it is a complete and utter misidentification, thinking there's someone in here, and he's got all these things he wants to make happen, all these things he wants to avoid happening.
No.
And he can do it.
No. The misunderstanding, if you like, is the experience that someone's doing. Because why not do whatever? Why not avoid whatever? It's the experience that there's someone in control or doing it. That's separate from the whole. That's the illusion.
And the Bugatti is just like a carrot
Yeah.
that you never.
Oh, the me always has carrots. The whole experience of this for that separate experience is a carrot. It's hidden somewhere. It undifferentiatedly looks in everything. It's turning over everything, identifying and defining and everything, trying to find what it feels is missing.
And it never gets there.
Well, it can't get there because there isn't a there, it's this. If you could give me a path to sitting on a chair, then I could tell you how to find what it is already.
Romance City. That's good. How did I get to be this way? What am I blind for? It's craziness. There's no love. There is no is either.
Not well.
It's all an appearance.
There's not an is that isn't also.
Do it again.
There is and isn't. This is and isn't. It's insubstantial. It's ungraspable.
I'm trying to get it, and there's nothing to get.
Well, it's not that. Yeah, you can
It's
say
why.
it's true what you say. I'm trying to get it because that there's no choice in that. As long as there's a sense of separation, there is a conviction that what's longed for is a thing that needs to be found or owned or had. It happens to be an illusion, which makes, quite literally, no difference. As I said, this meeting isn't about changing anything. Because that is also the same freedom. Just being the experience of something needing to happen.
And the whole rigmarole
Yeah.
is empty.
Much ado about nothing.
That's it.
A story told by a fool. Can't remember the rest. But anyway.
Now finish it.
I can remember,
Full of sound and fury.
yeah. Sound and furious.
Signifying nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
My buddy Willie.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you never said this yesterday, but you did. You did say meaningless,
Yeah, oh, totally.
but did you also include empty in that?
Excuse me?
Did you also include empty?
Oh, it is empty, yeah.
And empty.
You see, the thing, the interesting or the unexpected is it's already empty of the story of separation.
Empty self.
It's already empty of that. It already is. It's an illusion.
I would just like to say what a profound teacher Shakespeare was.
Yeah, totally.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So in this thinking, was there a Shakespeare?
Apparently. And it isn't really a thinking. There's a you could say a level of this which is a conceptual. You know, we're sharing concepts and words. But really it isn't about mental activity or understanding even. It isn't a philosophy it's not a new way to think. It's that there isn't actually a thinker. There's just thinking.
So there was no real.
There was no real period. The list is long.
This is the kind kind of get together I'd really like.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Makes no sense.
Well done.
One more.
Yeah, right.
I think I'm living this life.
Yeah.
This is a lie. And I think I'm in control.
Yeah.
And I got freedom of choice.
Yeah.
And I can make stuff happen.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Total BS.
Yeah.
And it starts with a fundamental, like underneath it all.
Yeah.
There's someone in you.
That's right.
Speaking of
Bless you.
making stuff happen,
Excuse me?
speaking of making stuff happen,
Yeah.
seems like I've always had a struggle with decision making. Always is like agitation and trying to decide between two different products to buy or which school to go to or which career to choose, etc. It's always been like this stuckness. And
But what you're telling me is a story
right,
about how this came to be.
right.
And there isn't actually a story about how this came to be.
So after listening to this message, it's like I feel like before it was that was happening because there was this sense of there is a right decision to make and a wrong decision to make, and it was paralyzing. And after listening to this message, it's like, okay, I understand that it doesn't matter what decision I make.
But that's making this into a religion.
Right, yeah, exactly. So still the stuckness, but for a different reason. Now I can't decide because
That's all
nothing
that
matters, but what actually doesn't matter.
That's all that we can do is have a different imaginary stuckness.
Yeah.
Because there already isn't anything stuck.
Yeah.
There's nothing to stick to.
And that hasn't happened for a while, it seems like, in the story. And,
Nothing has happened.
And yesterday it came back so strongly.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, wow, it's not easy being a me. It's unpleasant
Yeah.
and uncomfortable. But it didn't stay long, so
Yeah.
that's another story. But that agitation of indecisiveness, that's the contracted energy.
No, it's just agitation of indecisiveness. There is no individual.
Okay.
There isn't a path.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't about there being, the avoidance of contracted energy or the avoidance of stuckness or any of those things, because none of that actually happens. There isn't the feeling stuckness or the sense that there needs to be acceptance. It's just a dream that there's something somewhere to land, that there's two things happening. It never does. And there's no out. There's no out for that experience because it already isn't real. And the experience that it needs to be fixed or dealt with is just part of the journey. That there is someone, that there is stuckness, that there is something that needs to change, something needs to happen.
But without looking for a solution or looking for a
It makes no
fix
difference. It makes no difference what appears.
But you wouldn't describe it, that agitation, as coming from the contracted energy. Or,
Well, the only experience, the only thing that the contracted energy does is it makes agitation real to someone.
okay.
That's the dream. That it's real. That it's real.
So a buddy of mine came up with this brilliant thing. He said, responsibility, oh gee, I hope I remember, starts from, the responsibility starts from the willingness to acknowledge that you're causing the matter.
Yeah.
Causing the matter that anything happens to this and anything to
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
Causing the matter anything that happens to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that, and then the whole shooting match.
Yeah.
Like start to finish.
But if there isn't anyone, who's responsible?
That's the point.
Yeah.
He made that a little like erroneous sort of. Something
Well, there isn't anyone.
So there's no responsibility.
No, there isn't.
So all the crazy stuff I do, that
Well, you don't do anything, but all the crazy is just crazy.
Do you have children, Jim?
This doesn't have anything, nor does that.
Thank you.
Nothing has anything.
How would you ask the question then if
Well, there isn't an answer. It's based on the premise that there's a knowing experiencer in every body which is real. Because it's looking for some sort of answer. The me is always looking for an answer. And there aren't any, because it comes from something that isn't already. There is no answer for me, because there isn't a me.
and extend that out a little. There's no I over here. There's no you over there. And there's no world.
Well, there's not even an over here or over there. Not a real one. It appears to be, but it's not real. There's no real position anywhere, nor is there no real non-position. There's simply everything,
As it is.
as it is. Yeah.
As it is.
Yeah.
There's no is.
Not really, but apparently. This appears to be happening.
So if it isn't indoctrination from about 2 days old,
Now, the me comes out of a contracted energy in the body. There arises for no reason a contracted energy in the body out of which that separate experience arises. And it arises, you could say, in the body as the sense that I'm real. And at the same time, there's the sense that everything else is real. And that sense of separation is the sense that comes with the sense of loss. The loss of everything, the loss of wholeness. And it lives in a world of things and needing to become.
and I was never born.
There's
There's
no one is born.
And no one dies.
No.
So.
No one will. But the body dies. It just doesn't belong to anyone.
Don't we go frantic?
The me does. The me, fundamental to the separate experience is survival. It wants to survive. That's the reason nobody wants to hear what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
Because it's death. It's the end of survival of me.
And what's left? What's left is this.
Everything.
Yeah.
But that's not enough for me. Everything isn't enough. There's only everything and it wants more.
So could I ask a question about space?
Yeah.
So when that contracted energy occurs and then the sense of being here happens, then space becomes apparent at that
Real.
point?
Everything, it doesn't become real, but to that separate experience, everything is real. With the same energy, the sense that that experience is real. The experience I am real is the same as everything else is real.
Right, so from here, there could be perception of a body here and a body there.
Yeah,
And there's a perception of space between those two
yeah,
bodies.
absolutely.
But that's not, it's apparent.
It's
It's
apparent.
real and unreal at the
That's
same
right,
time.
absolutely.
Okay, so, yeah, I don't really know where that goes from
Yeah,
there.
well, it doesn't go anywhere.
It doesn't. But if there's no contracted energy or no sense of separation,
Yeah,
then that space is still apparent,
yeah.
but not seen as real. It's a question mark.
The illusion of reality is no longer real. There's no illusion that what's happening is real.
Okay, so I think I asked yesterday about a disorientation,
Yeah.
but then you say there's no center or theme to be disoriented,
Exactly.
right? So that's what, of course, can't be understood.
Yeah. Well, the me trying to understand this would think that it must be disorienting to not know where it is.
Right.
Yeah.
Because again, it can't conceive of its own
No,
absence.
it can't. No.
Makes me think of full emptiness.
Well, that's exactly what this is.
Yep.
Without a me, it actually wouldn't be disorienting because there'd be no.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like nothing to have vertigo,
Yeah.
right?
Right. Yeah.
So when did this contraction begin? At birth, 2 weeks before? 2 weeks
All I can do is tell you a story.
I want to hear.
Okay. So, a long, long time ago. Seriously, it's a long story. How long have we got? No, we got plenty of time. A long, long time ago, man found fire. And by creating fire, he no longer had to chew as much. Because if you see apes, they chew a lot, like all day. Like 90% of their waking activity is chewing, which creates a really strong mandible and a lot of muscle here. And because they found fire, that was able to reduce over time, of course, apparent time. And that reduction allowed the brain to get bigger. And it was over time that the brain got bigger that it was able to extrapolate the experience of separation.
Is that the answer?
Well, it's a story. It's a story. But I mean, there are scientists that will say exactly.
But does that assume that there's really a brain?
Well, it assumes that there's really a brain and a really past and an explanation for why this is the way it is.
Right. I love when you say you don't know that you have a brain. Have you ever seen your brain?
Yeah,
You
you
can see
don't.
a picture of your brain, but that's not seeing your
No, you
brain.
can't see your brain, no.
Worse than that, where thought originates.
Thought originating, everything has the same origin, nothing. And it isn't an origin in the sense that it's separate and comes out of it. It is that the thought is nothing thinking. The body is nothing body. The floor is nothing flooring. There's nothing hidden somewhere else. There's no source. It's complete.
So Jim, if so when you say there is no source, whose delusion are we in then? Somebody is deluding this entire thing.
Deluding.
Or
Well,
if you say, sometimes you use the word dream,
yeah.
whose dream are we in?
Well, it's not a dream that someone's in. The dream is the dreamer. It's the same.
The dream is the dream.
Yeah.
There is no source to it that initiated this.
No. I mean, if you like, this is the initiation and the end of it. This is the beginning and the end. Simultaneously.
So let me go back to the previous topic again. Why are we looking at if there is nothing to be found?
Oh, because you can't know. There's nothing to be found. Part of the sense of separation is that something needs to happen.
So another friend said, the prayer I recite and whatever I is, and the one I'm reciting it to or praying to or whatever, they're all one.
Yeah.
Don't say yeah.
Oh, okay. No. Well, it is all one. One, I think, is a misleading way to talk about it, but it isn't separate. There isn't any separation. It's not two.
So is there ever no separation?
Is there ever no, there is no separation. Full stop. There is never separation. There's an experience of separation. It happens to be the only experience, and it's an illusion.
Can there be an experience of no separation?
No. Who would experience it? An experience is a subject-object thing. There has to be an experiencer to have an experience of something. That's how it remains hidden.
Well, doesn't there have to be someone to see separation? Or to experience separation?
Someone is the seeing of separation. There being someone is the experience of separation.
And if there's no separation, then there's no one.
That's right. There's no experience of no separation.
And say it again, nothing is happening.
Yeah, well done.
No. You're supposed to do this with that.
Oh, sorry. What am I supposed to do? This?
Expand on it.
Expand on it. Expand on nothing happening. That's like can you explain what you mean by nothing? What is nothing?
There's no way we're gonna get you, huh? There's no you.
Well, it's just nothing. I totally understand. You know, trip him up, find out where the kink is. One thing that comes up a lot, and especially in something like this, is doubt. The separate experience lives in a world of belief and doubt. And this, because it can't be an experience, there comes up a lot of doubt about the validity of it. And that will then be projected onto this, and then there'll be a digging and whatever. And, oh, did he say that? And what does that mean? Is it true or not? And you'll never figure it out. As long as there's a me, there'll be belief and doubt. It's part of its experience. Belief is there to hide the fact that it doesn't know. It's sort of a little trick that it does. It believes things.
And something else I heard from another friend, he's got okay on YouTube, is all a belief is an unexamined thought.
Oh, okay. Not really.
Not really?
Yeah.
What is it?
It's a way of making yourself feel better about not knowing what this is. So there's beliefs, spiritual beliefs, you know, ideas, beliefs about attainment in any form whatsoever, being the harborer of happiness, and that happiness, a continual state of happiness, is what is actually longed for. All sorts of beliefs are out there. Belief in death. Death, there's no such thing. Death is not what the me thinks it is. For death to be what the me thinks it is, it would have to be there is someone there that knows they're dead. But if someone's there that knows they're dead, then they're not dead. Okay, and so if there's no one there that knows they're dead, who cares? Because the whole idea is that the individual thinks that death is I know I'm dead. Can't happen. It's an illusion. It's just part of the dream, the impossibility of the individual imagining the end of its experience. Which is this, it's already this.
I'm already dead.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
In a sense, it's not like you're already dead, it's just there isn't anyone. The whole idea that might come up in a meeting like this, that something needs to happen, like the me needs to fall away, as though there's a real me and a real falling away that reveals this as it already is. That doesn't happen. It is already as it is. It is already what's long to work.
Speaking on that, I've heard you say, use the term unhappening.
Unhappening, yeah.
Could you expand
Yeah, it's a
on
bit of
that?
a mind fuck, really. It's
Yeah,
just- yeah.
Could you, can't expand on that at all?
Well, just that there is no real end to something that already isn't really happening. So the end of the sense of separation isn't an actual happening. Because there isn't anyone for it to happen to, and what is then obvious is that nothing happens. And that the whole sense of separation never happened. There never is an individual.
Is
It's a bit
that
of a funny thing, but there just isn't anyone.
right?
Separation is an illusion.
Is that where all the conflict in the apparent self is from? Is because
No, the conflict in the apparent self is the way we're talking about it here is that something needs to happen. That this is somehow lacking, there's something missing, and it is through the free will that the individual is going to find that. That's the conflict.
and there is no free will. Well,
Because there is no individual.
right,
Yeah.
and
And there is no separation.
right, and the sense of free will is because of the sense of the individual.
Yeah.
Right. And so, yeah, free will wouldn't be a question if there was no sense of it.
No, that's right.
So like a leaf in the wind doesn't ask why it's blowing through the sky.
No, the human's the only one that asks why. Well, the individual, yeah.
So love, I heard recently, is the absence of other.
Yeah,
That makes sense?
yeah, well, that's true.
It's not all the cushy
But,
stuff.
but that's not an achievement. It is already that way. There is no other. This is love, unconditional love. It's already done.
So would you say in the, I get caught up on the words, but in the story of Jim, was there a specific time that you remember when the shift, if you will, happened
No,
or unhappened?
no. I can tell you all sorts of things that seem special, but the end of the individual isn't an event.
Right.
There isn't anyone there to know that anything happened.
There's no one there ever, right? But there was a sense of
Yeah,
it at
Yeah.
some point.
yeah, there was in the story.
And in the
You know, but just so that we're clear,
Right.
we're assuming that well, if I tell a story, the me will assume that there's a reality outside of what is.
right.
That led to what is.
Mm-hmm.
That's why this calls that a story, because it doesn't, nothing ever does. But in the story, yeah, there was a Jim that, whatever.
Right.
But how does it start? So if there's no separation, that contracted energy,
Yeah.
how does, what leads to it, or how we get into this?
It happens for no reason. It's causeless.
And how does it stop?
Well, in the same, it's causeless. And not to be pedantic, but it doesn't actually stop. It never happened. It's the whole experience that this is real.
But that experience, how does it start, right? Because
It's
start
causeless. It's
feeling-
causeless. It's causeless.
Like what causes?
It's causeless without cause. I can tell you another story, but it won't help. It is causeless. It happens for no reason. There's suddenly a contracted energy in the body out of which a sense of knowing arises called I am or me.
So it's only seemingly happening in the appearance, but this has nothing to do with anything to do with the appearance.
Well, wait. This all there is the nothing appearing. Yeah. And nothing has anything to do with it in that way because we're being separate from everything. It's just everything.